in this lesson, we are going to solve quadratics by the best method. Our target is going to be solve a quadratic equation using the most convenient and efficient method. So solve quadratic equation using the most efficient method. So we've talked before that using the quadratic formula is effective all the time, but it's not the most efficient way. So it's similar to killing a fly with a sledgehammer instead of a fly swatter. Fly swatter, very efficient. Sledgehammer, not so efficient. Effective, you can kill a fly with a sledgehammer, but it could be a lot of work to kill it with that sledgehammer. So before we begin, let's just recap drawing a parabola that has no solutions. So an example of a parabola that has no solutions would be one that doesn't, no real solutions. Keyword here is real. So if you would use your highlighters, this way you've got this in your notes, no real solutions. So this would be an example of a parabola that has no real solutions, one that does not cross the x-axis. It can open up or it can open down. An example of a parabola that has two real solutions would be a parabola that goes through the x-axis twice. And one real solution is a parabola that's going to be tangent to the x-axis. So tangent to the x-axis means it touches it and bounces off. And it can open up or it can open down. Either one of those. So this is an or situation, or, and same thing with the first one with no real solutions. Either one of these would be a parabola that has no real solutions. Now, basic factoring, here are some steps for basic factoring. So we're recapping a lot of this. So in this video, we're going to focus on factoring. Keep the videos pretty short. Then we'll move to completing the square and so on and so forth. So basic factoring, you're going to put your equation in standard form. So remember that standard form is ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. Second step is to factor. So we're going to factor that left-hand side of the equation. Then we're going to, step 3, use the zero product property. So the zero product property is ZPP, zero product property. And then step 4 is solve each equation. So now the beauty of a video is that if I'm going too fast, you can change the speed to work with your speed in taking notes. You can also press pause. You can always press pause. So our first example is going to be 0 equals x squared plus 7x minus 18. This equation is already in standard form, set equal to 0. So our second step is going to be to factor. So I've got 0 equals, and then I'm going to factor that trinomial. We get back to x squared by multiplying x times x, and then we need to multiply it to be a negative 18, whose difference is 7. So that would be a 9 and a 2. The 9 is going to be positive, and the 2 will be negative, so that the outer, which will be negative 2x, and the inner, which is positive 9x, add to be that 7x. I'm going to take each variable factor, the x plus 9 and the x minus 2, and I'm going to set them equal to 0. So x plus 9 equals 0, and x minus 2 equals 0. So here's your x plus 9 equals 0, and here is your x minus 2 equals 0, and then we solve. We subtract 9 from both sides, and we get x equals negative 9. We add 2 to both sides, and we get x equals 2. And there's our two answers. Okay, let's try another. X squared minus 3x equals 28. When you can factor, these problems, solving these quadratics goes so much faster. It's so much more efficient. So our first step is to set this equation equal to 0. So I'm going to subtract 28 from both sides. Now we have standard form, and I'm going to try and factor. And I'm going to look to see if this is factorable first. If it's factorable, I'll use the zero product property. This is going to be x minus 7 and x plus 4. Negative 7 times positive 4 is negative 28. The outer is positive 4x. The inner is negative 7x. 4x minus 7x is negative 3x. And then, of course, x times x gave us the x squared. We're going to set each variable factor equal to 0. X minus 7 equals 0. X plus 4 equals 0. I get x equals positive 7 and negative 4. Okay, here's one for you to try. 0 equals x squared minus 11x plus 24. Press pause, and then when you are sure that you have got it, come on back and press play to check your answer. Okay, welcome back. I know some of you did not press pause. I was watching, and I could tell. So we've got 0 equals 2 binomials. I take that 24, 1 and 24, 2 and 12, 3 and 8, 4 and 6. The 3 and the 8 are going to give me a combination that add to be negative 11, and that's because both of these signs will be negative, so I will be combining these two values. These two values will combine to be 11 by adding. So that's going to be the 8 and the 3, so x minus 3 and x minus 8. X times x is x squared. Negative 8x and negative 3x is negative 11x. Negative 3 times negative 8 is positive 24. X equals 3 and 8 are our two answers. And we get that by setting x minus 3 equals to 0, which gives us the 3. And x minus 8 equals 0, which gives us the 8. So that's a recap on basic factoring. Completing the square is what we'll do in the next video. Completing the square, we'll review that real quick and show you when it's going to be helpful to use this feature. And we always use basic factoring first. So this is our first and best option when factorable. So if the trinomial is factorable, when factorable, then factoring is always your number one choice. Okay, in the next video, we will continue the notes with completing the square.